The eastern gray squirrel, Squirrus carolinensis, also known, particularly outside of North America, as simply the gray squirrel, is a tree squirrel in the genus Squirrus. It is native to eastern North America, where it is the most prodigious and ecologically essential natural forest regenerator. These tree-dwelling animals have become something of an unofficial mascot for city parks by nature of their visibility. They can often be seen leaping through wooded areas, chasing other squirrels around tree trunks, or perched on park benches nibbling on nuts and seeds. The fast pace of city living suits eastern gray squirrels. They use their long tails and sharp claws for balance while climbing, running, and leaping between tree branches. No rush hour traffic or train delays will keep them from getting where they're going. And the wide variety of food options that New York City offers isn't lost on them either. They will happily feast on nuts, acorns, seeds, berries, fruit, and anything else they manage to scavenge. Squirrels are as much a fixture to city parks as the grass, trees, and benches. Squirrus carolinensis is native to the eastern and midwestern United States, and to the southerly portions of the central provinces of Canada. The native range of the eastern gray squirrel overlaps with that of the fox squirrel, with which it is sometimes confused, although the core of the fox squirrel's range is slightly more to the west. The eastern gray squirrel is found from New Brunswick, through southwestern Quebec and throughout southern Ontario plus in southern Manitoba, south to East Texas and Florida. Breeding eastern gray squirrels are found in Nova Scotia, but whether this population was introduced or came from natural range expansion is not known. During the colonial era, eastern gray squirrels were found throughout New York State in large numbers. The variety of hardwood trees in the region made it an ideal habitat for them. Some areas of New York had so many squirrels during that time that farmers even considered them pests. People would occasionally report seeing large groups of squirrels traveling across the countryside, eating everything in sight. But over time, deforestation and hunting greatly reduced their numbers. And by the mid-1800s, spotting a squirrel in New York City was such a rare occurrence that crowds would sometimes form if one was seen on a city street. However, in the late 1800s, squirrels were reintroduced to American cities in an attempt to bring more nature into urban parks and natural areas. These efforts were ultimately successful, though there were challenges along the way. City-managed culls periodically thinned squirrel numbers through the years. And in the 1870s people began trying to remove them from parks again, believing that squirrels were harming local bird populations. Still, squirrels managed to find a foothold in the city. By the mid-1880s, there were an estimated 1,500 squirrels in Central Park. Eastern gray squirrels can grow 9 to 12 inches in length and reach 2 pounds upon sexual maturity. Despite their name, they come in a variety of colors, and will often display a mix of gray, brown, black, and cinnamon fur. Their long-haired, bushy tails can grow to be roughly as long as their bodies. The squirrel population in North America was once mostly made up of dark-colored squirrels, as darker colors allowed them to remain hidden from birds of prey in the air. However, their dark colors made them more visible from the ground, and much easier for human hunters to spot. As human hunting increased, it is believed that squirrels' coats grew lighter as an evolutionary defensive response. The light grays and browns that their fur now features keeps them camouflaged from predators both on the ground and in the sky. The tracks of an eastern gray squirrel are difficult to distinguish from the related fox squirrel and Auburn squirrel, though the latter's range is almost entirely different from the gray's. Like all squirrels, the eastern gray shows 4 toes on the front feet and 5 on the hind feet. The hind foot pad is often not visible in the track. When bounding or moving at speed, the front foot tracks will be behind the hind foot tracks. The bounding stride can be 2 to 3 feet long. Gray squirrels reach sexual maturity at 12 months and can mate up to twice a year. One mating season is in late winter, and the other is in midsummer, depending on food availability. Multiple males chase a female during courtship, with the most dominant male ultimately mating with the female. The young are born blind and hairless. Their eyes begin to open after approximately 28 to 35 days. When they are 42 to 49 days old, their furry coats fully develop and they begin to venture from the nest. Since eastern gray squirrels usually live in trees, they prefer woodland areas that are primarily made up of oak and black walnut trees. Eastern gray squirrels generally live either in dens made in the cavities of healthy trees, or trees, which are nests made of twigs and leaves that are constructed high up on tree branches. During periods of severe cold, eastern gray squirrels can stay in their dens or nests for several days at a time, only coming out to visit their stores of food. The average life expectancy for an adult squirrel is 6 years, and the records for maximum lifespan are 12 years in the wild and 20 years in captivity. The eastern gray squirrel is a scatter hoarder. It hoards food in numerous small caches for later recovery. Each squirrel is estimated to make several thousand caches each season. The squirrels have very accurate spatial memory for the locations of these caches, using distant and nearby landmarks to retrieve them. Smell is used partly to uncover food caches, and also to find food in other squirrels' caches. Scent can be unreliable when the ground is too dry or covered in snow. Squirrels sometimes use deceptive behavior to prevent other animals from retrieving cached food. Squirrels will bury or hide their food to eat throughout the winter. The nuts and seeds that were not eaten can end up growing into new trees. Eastern gray squirrels are more active during the early and late hours of the day, and tend to avoid the heat in the middle of a summer day. They do not hibernate. Communication among eastern gray squirrel individuals involves both vocalizations and posturing. The species has a quite varied repertoire of vocalizations, including a squeak similar to that of a mouse, a low-pitched noise, a chatter, and a raspy mer-mer-mer. Other methods of communication include tail flicking and other gestures, including facial expressions. Tail flicking and the coot or call are used to ward off and warn other squirrels about predators, as well as to announce when a predator is leaving the area. Squirrels also make an affectionate coo purring sound that biologists call the muck-muck sound. This is used as a contact sound between a mother and her kids and in adulthood, by the male when he courts the female during mating season. The use of vocal and visual communication has been shown to vary by location, based on elements such as noise pollution and the amount of open space. For instance, populations living in large cities generally rely more on the visual signals, due to the generally louder environment with more areas without much visual restriction. However, in heavily wooded areas, vocal signals are used more often due to the relatively lower noise levels in a dense canopy restricting visual range. Squirrels are hardly ever found to have rabies or transmit them to humans. Squirrels can run up to 15 miles per hour on the ground and leap upwards of 8 feet. Eastern gray squirrels can be of human concern when they gnaw on home structures for nesting purposes. Squirrels can also create electrical hazards by chewing on insulation and exposing wires. In 1987, a squirrel gnawed on a power line at the Nasdaq Computer Center, shutting down stock trading for over an hour. Thank you for watching.